good evening, everyone. We are the Spooky Barber Babes, and tonight we are reviewing Halloween Kills. But does it really?
Yeah.
So tonight we're going to be talking about, Brandon's going to be recapping the last Halloween movie. I think it was 2018 is what you said?
Yeah, the one that came out in 2018, just simply called Halloween.
Yeah, so we're going to recap that one. Then we're going to just jump into Halloween Kills, and then when we're done that, we might talk a little bit about some of the older movies, zombies version.
The ones that the series doesn't acknowledge, but somehow they had to get made.
The ones that just don't make sense.
Yeah, which is half the franchise. But
so if you haven't already subscribed, click on the like button, subscribe, and we'll keep you updated. But as of right now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
So if you've lived under a rock or have never seen the Halloween franchise, we're just gonna go back, if you will, to Haddonfield, Illinois, Halloween night, 1963, where a 6-year-old Michael Myers brutally murders his teenage sister Judith to death in her bedroom with a kitchen knife, all while wearing his Halloween clown costume. So 15 years later, he is in a mental institution, and he is under the care of Dr. Samuel Loomis, who comes to see him the night before Halloween, and Michael manages to escape from the mental institution and takes off in a car. Somehow, someone locked up in a mental institution from the age of 6
can drive.
The age of 21 magically knows how to drive, but we won't go there. It's fine. I think they actually talk about that. Like, how does he know how to drive? Well, he did a damn good job.
Pretty much.
So Dr. Samuel Loomis knows exactly where he's headed for some reason. So he knows he's going to Haddonfield. It's definitely happening. So then we meet Laurie Strode, who is it's like 16, 17, a 20-year-old Jamie Lee Curtis at the time. She looks good though.
I was about to say,
even now she looks good. So I can't hate. Yeah. So Laurie Strode, she's walking to school with Tommy Doyle, who is a little boy that she babysits. And Laurie's father is a realtor. And she has to run a quick errand and drop a key off at what was the old Myers house. It's abandoned, or not so much abandoned anymore, because Michael has returned and is watching her and Tommy Doyle from the safety of the front door. So he sees Laurie
entering.
Yeah. So he sees Laurie and the Tommy, but that begins the stalking of Laurie Strode. They haven't established their relation yet. So he stalks Laurie and her friends seemingly from the day of Halloween and everything. Her friends, I believe, kind of throw some like, "Hey, creeper," kind of comments at him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think they actually, if I'm correct, is it Amy or the other friend?
Annie and
it was Annie.
Linda are the two friends.
I think it's Linda is the one that actually calls him out on like, hey, you want some? You know, just trying to like get the dude to bugger off because they just think it's some creep in a Halloween mask.
Yeah. So Loomis arrives in Haddonfield and tries to warn the chief of police of Michael's escape and that he is here or on his way here. They don't know that he's officially there yet. Go figure, the police chief doesn't take him seriously. He's like, what's he gonna do? Like, no, like, you're crazy. So Halloween night, Michael goes on his little killing spree. He slaughters Laurie's friends, Annie, Linda, and Linda's boyfriend, Bob. Michael realizes that Laurie is a force to be reckoned with because she doesn't just die like his sister did, and that she actually fights back multiple times. So his infatuation to kill her is less about her being his sister at this point and more about the fact that she is the babysitter he could not kill. So
well, when did they you skipped over the part where they acknowledged that was his sister that he found out?
So that actually happens in Halloween 2. They are at the hospital. It is later that night. Laurie has been admitted to the hospital for various injuries, thanks to Michael Myers. I want to say she breaks a leg. She's got a stabbing in the arm, things.
Girl's been through hell.
I want to say Michael is there too for some reason. I think he follows to the hospital, presuming that that is where she would be. Goes on a killing spree throughout the hospital, kills several hospital staff members, all the while Loomis tries to Michael his way through the hospital. Hey, that was a damn good impression. You can't even
no, it was spot on. That's kind of the best part about it.
So halfway through, we learn from some sort of hospital personnel that Laurie is in fact Michael Myers' sister. So here's my question.
How did they find that out?
I know.
I'm sorry, did I just cut you off?
No. So I want to say it was a situation that it might have been in her file or something like that she was adopted. Maybe. So here's my question. Do they actually acknowledge in the original Halloween franchise that she was adopted? Because obviously in the zombie franchise they do.
So yeah, that's Rob Zombie's franchise, they talk about that. And so
here's my thing. So because it was seemingly in the original franchise that they were like this middle class family, their neighborhood was in a fairly nice neighborhood. It's not like it was the zombie version where there was run down like trailer park and stuff like that. So here's my question. Was she actually ever adopted, or was Strode the name that they changed it to?
So,
to avoid
it's actually funny. It's funny that you say that because, okay, so when Halloween Kills opens, I don't know if you noticed this, but they recap us back to 1963 that night. You see Officer Hawkins, I want to say.
That's not 63, that's 78.
That's 78.
Because,
okay. Well, it was the night that she was attacked. They said it was
because they're trying to find him.
Okay.
So she had already gone to the hospital. So this is before he followed her to the hospital. So this is when they're still trying to track him down.
That's what it was. My bad. Yeah. So that night they recap and they bring you to the house. If you look at the house, because I mean, it starts off, you literally see, I think it was Lonnie is on the ground, half pissing his pants, saying he's gonna get me. And then miraculously the officers look up and bam, they're at the Myers house. Did you notice in front of the home, it has the sign for Strode realtors on it? Yeah, so if you look up, it says Strode Realtors. So I'm wondering if there's a good possibility she was adopted, and maybe even not like physically. She might have just been placed in the care of the Strodes. I'm actually wondering if the Strodes were friends of the Myers. Because who's to say that? Because who's to say that they didn't take the baby? I mean, she was still a baby when the sister was murdered.
She was,
so I'm
because doing the math, if he was 21 when he broke out of the asylum and he was 6, so she 16, 17, she would have been a
baby. She had probably had no idea that she even had an older brother. And I mean, I know, refresh my memory because it's been forever since I've seen the originals. Do they discuss about how his mom and dad died?
No, that's the other thing. I don't think
so. It's Zombies version is the only one that actually legit gives us a background. Which I mean, truth be told, if you're going from like, okay, you're assuming that his now my brain just went on a different tangent. My bad. So what if her parents, like you said, Strode was just the name that they took? Who's to say that that isn't the Myers family? So now, okay, if that was the case, then yes, I could see that being the Strode name. Because if you're assuming that Mike didn't kill his mom and dad, then I can.
Because he was admitted before he killed. He was just like on the front lawn, like, like, Michael, what did you do?
And so, if I'm correct, he didn't even in the zombie version, he didn't kill his mother. In Zombies version, he only killed his sister, her boyfriend, and the stepdad. And that actually, I think it was,
or whatever the heck he was to
he was something to the mom. But either way, he never killed his mother in either version. His mother killed herself in the second one, in the zombie version. So I'm wondering, like, if, because I mean, they don't even Zombies version doesn't really tell you what happened to Michael's dad. So
and so
that's also
going
the question.
going into the zombie version. So while we're on kind of a tangent of the zombie version, so the zombie versions, Rob Zombie, when we say zombie, we're not referring to the undead versions.
I'm hoping people would know
So,
about that. That's who we mean.
You never know. I leave nothing up to assumption at this point.
True.
So they're not obviously canon to the original story. They're just his take on it. But her and I were actually discussing prior to pressing record that there's elements of the backstory to the Michael Myers plot, if you will, that are included in the Rob Zombie version that we almost don't get in the actual Halloweens, that we almost prefer.
Yes.
Like, I actually prefer the fact that it's not an hour and 45 minutes of some adult man that we have zero backstory on going on some killing spree in Rob Zombie's version. I actually like the fact that the first hour is the character development of he came from a rough upbringing. His mom was a stripper who was in and out of relationships. His mom had several children from seemingly different relationships. I don't even know if it was covered if the baby who would end up being Laurie Strode was actually a product of the mother and her boyfriend or husband or whatever heck it was.
I'm thinking that it was because actually yes, it was because Sherry does say, which if you guys don't know, Sherry Moon Zombie plays Mike Myers' mom and does an amazing job doing it. But she does actually yell at her boyfriend, fiance, husband, whatever the hell he is. He does yell at him to take care of his daughter. And to leave her older daughter alone because he makes such inappropriate comments. Like, dude, when Mike actually like
cringy. Yeah.
When Mike actually finally just to the boyfriend, whatever the hell he is, I literally was sitting there clapping because I was like, yes, he deserved it. But I will say this, and I wish they would have showed a little bit of this in the original, but taking Zombies version into the newer movies, it might make a little bit more sense. But Zombie showed Mike as caring for his baby sister.
Yeah. Like, he showed that there was a relationship there, not actually just, oh,
I'm going to murder you.
Yeah.
So, and that's where in my mind, I can see that connection. It's like, okay, does he really want her dead?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, yeah, he's trying to kill her because obviously she's trying to kill him. Yeah. But originally he didn't know that was his sister. Who's to say he still does know that's his sister?
Yeah.
Because you can't acknowledge that.
Yeah. So we'll get into that for the 2018 in this one. But yeah, so with the zombie versions, you see like Samuel Loomis, like you see the time that Sam Loomis spends with him and developing, and he's like, you know, he like initially when he's first in the hospital, he's like, oh, when can I go home? Like, he doesn't remember anything of that night. You actually get the context of like that he just thinks it's a normal day, that he just blacked out. He didn't think of anything, and then something snaps. And then you see him go for the, you know, where he doesn't like his face exposed. And then when you see him that he doesn't like, chooses not to speak anymore, like you see him go through those kind of stages in like a montage. So you actually get that backstory of Sam Loomis's relationship to Michael over the years. Same with, you know, Danny Trejo, the caretaker, whatever the heck he's called.
I think he's technically considered a security guard.
He is like a janitor kind of situation, but he was kind to him. He treated him like a human being versus
something that he hadn't
a patient or a, you know, a lockup kind of thing. He treated him like, he talked to him. He's like, hey, Mikey, you know, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't fret it. You know, he started that when he was a child. You see him talking to him as a child.
If I'm correct, he actually, Mike chooses the conscious decision when his mom stopped showing up.
Yeah.
So, and I'm wondering if that's like, if they really told him like, hey, your mom killed herself kind of thing, like, or if they, because I don't remember them acknowledging that his mom wasn't going to come and visit him again because he was gone.
Well, and half of the reason of her killing herself, this is still the Rob Zombie version, guys, by the way. Yeah, we're still on the Rob Zombie tangent. But yeah, half of the reason that you see him kind of start to go on, like when you see him start to do his psychotic break thing, because remember the mom was still alive when when he chooses to kill the nurse that was watching him, because Sam Loomis was going to walk her to her car
Yes.
And he asked a nurse to just kind of look after him for a minute, and he like
that's the last time that
nurse.
and that's the
So
last
that was
time
the
she
last time
sees
that
her.
that
Or
she
he
sees
sees
him.
her.
She chooses not to come after that. She's watching home movies, and she,
honestly, I think she does that because of guilt. I think she blames
guilt.
herself for
What did I
what's going on with
raise?
him.
Yeah. Like,
This is
where did
my
I mess up?
fault. I lost my kid. I lost, and then essentially in her mind, she didn't just lose one kid; she lost two. If you really think about it, because I mean, in the zombie version, there's 3 kids. The oldest one who gets stabbed, and then Mike, and then the baby, which I don't know. Was her name Laurie in that one, or I think her whole name was
Angel. Her name is Angel Myers.
Yeah, so her whole name got changed.
Yeah.
But I think in Zombies version, in the first one, they acknowledge her name as sisters, Angel Myers.
Yeah. Now, granted, in the Jamie Lee Curtis, original John Carpenter versions, they don't actually acknowledge what her name was. They just acknowledge her as Michael Myers' biological sister.
Yeah, which is so. I'm wondering if that's where in the zombie movies, when she finds out, doesn't she actually find out that way because of is it the sheriff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's
the sheriff is her best friend's dad, who she ended up, this is the second like the part 2 of the Rob Zombie version. They don't dwell on the hospital thing like they do for an entire movie in the John Carpenter versions.
Yeah, because I'm about to say Annie lives.
Yeah,
in the first
Annie
one.
lives in the zombie versions, and Laurie ends up living with her and her dad. And then it cuts to like a couple years after the fact. She's like 19, 20, something like that. Gotten into drugs, gotten into the emo life.
Oh, well, that wasn't even the emo life. That was straight up the rocker grunge life.
Yeah.
That's what that was. I mean, she was working in a record store.
Yeah.
But I also think in the Rob Zombie second one, Sheriff Hackett, I think he dies.
Yeah.
Which we'll address in the original, like the new one that just came out. There's a big difference there. So I think with Rob Zombie, he knew he was only going to do 2, so he put some closure on his. But if you have not seen the Rob Zombie ones, but you have seen the originals, you will actually notice that the daughter, I forget which movie she was in, but the girl that plays Annie in the Rob Zombie movies was in the original Halloween. She was one of the little girls.
Lindsay. Was she
Lindsay? No, she was not Lindsay, because in the new one,
70s, yeah.
And in the new one, it was actually Kyle Richards was the original Lindsay. So it's funny how in this one, all of the characters that you see as adults were all the original kids.
Except for Anthony Michael Hall. Anthony Michael Hall was not Tommy Doyle. He was not. He was not.
So the original Tommy Doyle was portrayed by, in the original Halloween, it was Brian Andrews. So yes, you're right. In Halloween 6, he was portrayed by Paul Rudd.
Yeah, the adult Tommy Doyle was Paul Rudd.
And then yes, Anthony Michael Hall played him in the new one. But again, I want to say all the others were the originals, the original cast, because they actually, side note, Jamie Lee Curtis and Kyle Richards actually reenacted one of their scenes from like the original, like on set of the new one. And I saw videos of, I saw like a video and a couple pictures. I was just like, that's kind of epic. Like, not gonna lie, that's kind of epic. But also, side note, Kyle Richards broke her nose for real in that movie. Like in the new one, because I side watch Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We're not gonna go there, but I do. And actually they start off the season with her right after she got nose surgery, and they were asking like what happened, and she was like, oh yeah, broke my nose on the new Halloween set. It's nothing, it's fine. I'm like, damn, go girl. All right, anyway.
Also crazy other side note, does anyone else still have the problem that they see Anthony Michael Hall's name in the credits of anything and you automatically think back to Breakfast Club and National Lampoon's Vacation, and you think teenage Anthony Michael Hall, and then he gets on stage and you're like, wait, who's that?
Oh yeah. Yes, that one was one of those moments where you're just like, oh shit.
No offense to Anthony Michael Hall, but also like
Yeah. Moving on.
80s and 90s kid problems. Okay. So that was a incredibly random tangent that we completely sidetracked on.
Sorry.
But so there's, 3, 4, 5, 6 bunch of random movies in between. H2O comes out, which is the 20-year anniversary one. It's not really acknowledged by 2018 or by Halloween Kills, which I get, but I also kind of think that had they just made different decisions 20 years ago, that they easily could have, made it work. We see Laurie Strode as a school marm who's assumed a different name under a witness protection program. She's developed a drinking problem, which girl probably would too. And of course, Josh Hartnett is her son, and which we never hear from or about ever again, because go figure, they don't acknowledge it as a thing.
They don't acknowledge any of the extra kids she had.
No, I was going to say in the third one, there was supposed to be or the fourth one, there's supposed to be a Jamie that also had Michael Myers'
psychoticness.
Yeah. So
I mean, honestly, I feel like since the movie franchise itself doesn't even want to acknowledge it, maybe we shouldn't either.
I know, exactly. So moving on.
We'll just go past that one.
So 2018, which is, I do like that the way that they did, I feel like 2018 Kills, which I don't think we realized at the time was kind of what they were doing. I think that they intended for this to be like, how Halloween was part 1 and then Halloween 2 was like that night continuing.
Yeah.
That's what they did with 2018 and Halloween Kills. It all takes place in the same night, just spread out over 2 separate movies. Yeah. So 2018 movie opens with Smith Grows Rehab. Michael has been kept there for the last 40 years. So we see Dr. Sartan, who is the new Loomis, essentially. Loomis has since passed away, but Dr. Sartan was a mentor, Loomis was his mentor. So he grew up in his residency looking after Michael with Loomis until Loomis passed on. There's a couple reporters who are there doing a podcast who, want to kind of look into and write about Michael's case that show up there. So despite many years of The Shape being silent in the films, Dr. Sartan informs the 2 reporters that Michael can in fact speak, he just chooses not to, that he also has because of that, he has a heightened sense of awareness, which is made apparent when the other patients start having outbursts when the reporter pulls out from his bag, the infamous white mask, which, random side note, if anyone doesn't know the back Halloween history, the infamous Michael Myers mask is none other than a William Shatner mask turned inside out, painted white, and hair attached to it. So,
yep.
And it's funny too, because it's until you know that, you don't see it, but then once you know it, you can't unsee it. So, and the mask has gone through various stages over the years. I personally like it when the mask looks a little rough and tumble. When it's too perfect, like boy behind me up here, which was the guy who was the stuntman for part 2, the original.
It was a Kane Hodder, right?
No, not in 79 or whatever it was. He was Jason in 7 through 10, but I don't know if
that's what I'm doing. I'm confusing.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kane was Jason. It's
there.
Wrong franchise. There. It's fine.
Look, like I said, guys, it is, just to give you guys a heads up, it is 8:00 on a Sunday night, and it's been a long day. So don't mind me if I'm getting my Halloween franchises mixed up, because let's face it, I've been watching a lot of them lately.
As have I. So his back is turned. We never see his face. That is the one thing that Halloween movies have pretty much kept consistent. You see profiles, but even to this day, we have yet to see a full frontal face. Except in the first one, where you briefly see his face.
I was actually going to say in the new one.
But
in the new one, there's a part where you see a little bit more of his face, a little bit more and more.
But it's still a profile. It's still never full on. Same with 2018. You see a profile. You can kind of fill in the blanks, if you will, as to what he would look like. But for the most part, it's always profile. So back to the reporters. So failing to get a response from Michael, the reporters track down Laurie Strode, where she has barricaded herself in her compound with barbed wire fences, a call box, sliding electric fence, the whole nine. After bribing her with $3,000 for an interview, she gets informed that they are in fact moving Michael from the rehab facility to a maximum security prison along with a couple other inmates. And she's like, that's a mistake. Like, he's better off where he is. So that we meet in like a little aside, we meet Laurie's daughter, Karen, where she also has a teenage daughter of her own and a husband. The teenage daughter's name is Allison, and the husband is a very eccentric individual. We find out in Halloween Kills that apparently he sold Lonnie peyote a few times, but
had a really bad trip.
So Laurie and Allison, the granddaughter, have a secret kind of relationship that her mom, Karen, isn't really aware of per se, just because Karen would rather that Allison stay away from Laurie. She kind of thinks her mom is a whack job.
That shit crazy.
She's just not a good influence. She'll try to talk her out of having a normal teenage life and try to be like, the boogeyman's gonna get you every second of every day. Again, you see Laurie in her compound. She is a hell of a shot, first of all. She's had 40 years to figure it out.
Own it in.
Yeah. And much like in Halloween H2O, Laurie copes with the Michael anxiety and PTSD by drinking, which causes various rifts in her family, which is partially why Karen also would like Allison to stay away from her. So Karen kind of reveals to Allison a little bit how her childhood was consumed by the fear and preparation of Michael Myers until child services took her away at age 12. So yeah, go figure, this is all the night before Halloween. Michael's bus crashes. Who could have predicted that? Because that doesn't happen in literally every single other Halloween movie ever made.
I feel like it all it happens all the time with all of them, where you're just like,
Yeah. So go figure, Michael goes on his killing spree. He's more so just trying to find his way back to Haddonfield, trying to find his way back to the house, everything. We kind of go and find out in Kills that his house has since been renovated and, taken over by another couple. But yeah, basically goes on one of his classic Halloween Michael Myers killing sprees. And in that process, comes across the sheriff and Dr. Sartan that track down Michael as well as Allison and all these other things that happen. Gets injured, seemingly murdered practically by Dr. Sartan because Dr. Sartan wanted to protect his patient. Basically, the doctor throws both Allison and Michael into the back seat of a locked cop car and drives it practically right onto Laurie's property. Because the doctor is trying to orchestrate them getting together because he thinks that is the key. Michael wasn't really actually even really after Laurie. That's the one thing that I think that I like about these, is that they kind of made it like, this isn't so much about Laurie at all.
It's more about the doctor.
And not only that, it's more just about him trying to get home. He wanted, because again, we'll get into it. They address in Kills. He just wants to go to his home. He wants to go to his childhood home.
It was Lonnie that actually says it.
Yeah.
And it says I'm like, I actually did do a little bit of research that a lot of it, Lonnie's right. He kills and then runs home. Mm-hmm. So what does that tell you guys? Leave him in the house. Just leave him in the house.
Leave him there. It's fine.
Because at the end of the day, as long as everybody leaves that house alone, leaves him alone, I highly doubt he'll leave it.
Yeah.
I hate to say it that way, but it's just like, how to stop Mike Myers? Give him his house.
So basically, he makes his way onto the property because who could have predicted that? And we see all of Laurie Strode's crazy badass booby traps that she has rigged in her house. One of which being in the basement. They get him down to the basement by tricking him, and when they get him in the basement, finally, Laurie pulls a lever and spike strips come across the front, trapping him in the basement. She lights a pilot light and sets the bitch on fire. So, mind you, all the while, she has been stabbed by Michael Myers in the stomach, no less. He has since killed Karen's husband, murdered a lot of Allison's friends.
Yep.
scene, so it's just a whole thing. She basically ignites the whole house, leaving him to kind of burn to death, seemingly, so we think. Go figure. The last thing that we hear at the end of the credits is Michael Myers breathing through a mask. So that would lead us into Halloween Kills.
Yep.
Right. So before we get into Halloween Kills, let's take a minute for a quick ad break. You guys are anything like me, like to stay hydrated throughout the day. So how do you do that? Do you bring a 10-pound lunchbox with you to work with 5 LaCroix and 3 throwaway plastic water bottles? Because that's what I was doing, and it kind of sucked. So how do you fix that? I recently partnered with the Hydro Jug, and let me tell you, this thing has become one of my new favorite items. Not only does it hold almost a half gallon of water, but the wide mouth opening allows me to fit huge bar-size ice cubes in there. I can also fit an entire lemon in there if I wanted to. The neoprene sleeve on the outside comes off and is machine washable. Not only that, but the bottle, the cap, and the straw on the inside are all dishwasher safe. I have so many tumblers that are either glitter or epoxy or decal that I have to hand wash. So not only does this thing get you hydrated, it saves you time. Think this style's too girly? Not a problem. They come out with different colors and styles almost weekly. So there really is something for everyone. Check out the affiliate link in the description below to get your Hydro Jug today. And thank you to the Hydro Jug for partnering with me as a brand ambassador. All right, so as we were saying, Halloween Kills. The reason why we're here.
So I have to say, the way the movie started was like,
yeah.
So for all of you out there that have not watched the 2018 Halloween movie, you need to watch it, or else you will be like me and be like, this movie has no plot. It will piss you off. You will be like, at the end of it, you'll just be like, I wasted an hour and 45 minutes of my life, and that sucked.
But then when I explained that it's like the part 1 is,
then it made a lot more sense to me, and now I'm going, dumbass.
You would have understood why the boyfriend's in a skirt the whole movie.
Yeah. So for most of you guys that don't know, this kid is literally, his name's Cameron, and he's literally in a full on like dress. I just assumed it was a Halloween costume.
It's because him and Allison, the girlfriend, the granddaughter of Laurie Strode, they were at a Halloween dance and they were Bonnie and Clyde, but gender bent.
I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
And
that's why she's in like
sense.
a zoot suit the entire time.
Yes.
That's why. So
but so when they start the movie, you see this kid. If I think I'm doing it right. Yeah, the kid. Yeah, you saw him first.
He's trying to get a hold of his friend who
literally they pan off to this kid. Like as he's on the phone with him, they pan up to the phone in the kid's pocket, and there's a fence there, and then like it pans back and you just see this kid go through it. But then and he looks over and he sees the sheriff like on the ground,
seemingly dead.
Yeah. And when he runs over, he realizes that he's still alive and is like, oh my God, let me help you. Let me like take off this little scarf thing and hold it to your neck. And he was like, I'm going to be the one that kills him. And the kid's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm going to be the one that kills him. He doesn't even really say who. And then
we flash back to
flashbacks, and you see Sheriff Hawkins, young Sheriff Hawkins, chasing Mike Myers, who's not really running. He's just doing that staunchy walk. He takes
where we also meet the childhood Lonnie as well.
Yes, actually. Which and he poor Lonnie is getting picked on and made fun of. Like I felt so bad for him. I was
like, oh, Tommy Doyle wasn't the only one picked on.
Yeah, right. There's these 4 cops, and they end up splitting up. Sheriff Hawkins goes with another officer, and I think they just address him as Frank, or not Frank, but
no, Frank is Hawkins.
Yeah, he's going off with Officer McCabe, and then they pan away, and you see Lonnie getting made fun of by these 2 girls, and it wasn't an officer, was it, that stopped them? It was? Yeah. Okay. So officers telling these kids,
said like, hey, have you seen a guy in a white mask? And she's like, it's Halloween, everybody's in a mask.
I mean, yeah, true.
Accurate, but
so basically what ends up happening is they all kind of disband, and Lonnie's running by himself and he falls. And as he's falling, it focuses on him, and then it pans back a little bit, and there's Mike. So the thing is like Lonnie's screaming. He's seeing Mike. He's freaking out. He's screaming. And he covers himself. And next thing you know, it's Officer Hawkins and Officer McCabe who like touched him, was like, "Are you okay?" And then that entails with what I said earlier, where they pan up and he's at right across the street from Mike Meyer's home. And like I was saying earlier, if you actually go back and you watch it again, you'll see where it says as a sign out front that says Strode on the house.
Yeah.
So they pan in, they go in, they take a look around. Obviously the house is disheveled, it's been emptied and whatnot.
The one thing too that's kind of a cool aside is that the Officer McCabe was talking to Hawkins about how when he was a kid, his mom used to make him go over to try to play with Michael. They felt bad for him. He had no friends. And he's like, even when I was there, he didn't want to do anything. He literally just stood in his sister's bedroom, just staring out the window. So that becomes an important part, into it. When they go into the house and they look around, Officer McCabe goes into what was Judith's bedroom and goes to look out the window, and he looks down and he sees there's boot prints here.
But that's going to come in at the end of the movie, because there's kind of a big,
it's a full circle moment.
So basically Mike's in the house and he's getting a rope and he's choking out Officer McCabe, and Officer Hawkins is in another room. He comes running, a little late. Like I would have ran a little bit faster hearing the ruckus, but so he comes in toes. And he's pointing a gun at Mike and saying, "Put him down." Mike's not listening, clearly. So what does Officer Hawkins do? He shoots his partner right in the throat. Pretty much an accident. Mike pretty much used him as a shield. And accidents happen. But it then pans back to, I think, the end of movie 2, the original movie 2, where the doctor comes into the house and yells, "Officer Hawkins, has he killed anyone else? Has he killed anyone else?" And they don't really answer you with what he says at that point. Then it just shows you the officers beating him down and all that stuff. And then it pans right back to present time. Basically, you see Laurie, her daughter, her granddaughter, all in the back of this random truck. But you hear fire alarms and you're like, shit. And as fire trucks are passing them, Laurie and them are screaming, "No, let him die, let it burn."
All the while, Laurie's hemorrhaging from the stomach.
Okay, so I'll talk about that in a minute. So fire crews get there, they get inside, they start, trying to put out the fire, doing their job. Well, I think one guy falls through the floor.
Like a weak spot
and next thing you know, a garage door lifts up in the basement. And behind him's weapons, and there's Mike. This mother effer got into a room with a door, like a garage door, that protects his ass. What?
Which you also kind of got a question in like the small like side note. Laurie set up those traps. You see her in 2018 going through the like casing her house with a shotgun, setting those doors off. So shouldn't she have known one of those doors existed in the basement that she trapped him in?
Continuity error. We'll just go with that. So meanwhile, Mike offs the dude with a pickaxe. That's what I want to say initially kill number 1 of the movie.
There was a lot of mushy head kills in this movie. Let's just say that there was they went very.
But I want to say he was
the mushy head kills.
But I want to say that dude was the first one.
Yeah.
And then you lose count with the body counts, because as Mike is coming out, he's this firefighter trying to help. "Oh, come on, buddy, come up," not knowing that it's not his buddy, it's actually Mike Myers. He gets yanked down. Death number 2. Then you seemingly see Mike walking out of the fire, and all the firefighters are like, "Oh shit!"
Fireman massacre montage,
and you lose count of how many people he actually kills.
I literally texted you 30 minutes into it and was like, his count is at least up to 10. She was at work and I was watching it on Friday in my apartment, and I was like, I'm only 28 minutes in and I've lost count.
Yeah. Yeah, you lose count pretty early. So after Fire Massacre, you see where it cuts over to another house. I guess like a street over or something. They don't really tell you how close it is.
It's close enough that they can see the smoke and that they knew who Laurie was.
They know it was her
you
house.
Seemingly neighbor-ish.
Yeah, I want to say it was like maybe like a street or two over. But woman's playing with the drone. Older woman, probably roughly about Laurie's age. And the husband, or I'm assuming husband, comes out and he's like, yeah, I see this place burned down. It's Laurie Strode's house. Da, da. And the woman literally goes, don't F with Laurie. She will F you up. And you're just like, accurate.
Yeah.
So she's flying this drone, and this drone goes into, I want to say like the bathroom or something. Yeah, I think it's the bathroom.
The bathroom.
And, she drops it, and, he laughs. He grabs, husband grabs it. He's like, well, I got this up. And as he's trying to pull it up, it comes flying at him.
Thrown at the...
And he's just like, the hell?
Lands upside down on the ottoman.
And then they start hearing noise, which, by the way, that ottoman thing, I got to call out another continuity error in this. So as the husband's checking it out, he turns on the light. There's Mike in the bathroom. He smashes the window and then shuts and locks the door. And then as he's walking down the hallway, all of a sudden there's this huge windows there that Mike just got into and smashes his hand through and just starts smashing this dude's head in. How big's your bathroom, and why do you have so many windows in your bathroom, sir?
I was gonna say, why are there inside? Like, why are there windows on the inside?
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. So
I understand if you live in a house having a tiny little window in the bathroom, but I've also lived in an apartment for the last 4 years with no windows, so I don't know what that's like.
And I don't understand why he was and we're talking like it looked like a hallway length worth of worth of windows through a bathroom. So error number 2 in this point. Continuity error number 3. After he attacks the husband, he comes out, he goes after the wife. He steps on the drone. So somehow the drone goes from on top of the ottoman onto the floor, and Mike steps on it.
Which in the scuffle, it could have gotten knocked off. Who knows?
But it was nowhere near it. That's what was bothering me. So, and then, so that was error number 3.
Yeah.
Woman, Sandra, she's running to the back door. She's struggling to open 3 locks, 2 sliders, and then doesn't even bother trying for the door. She grabs a knife.
Yeah.
Honey, what is a knife going to do against Mike Myers?
I'm like,
that's going to be his knife. That's going to be his knife for the rest of the movie. So when pretty much Sandra's demise is he grabs a fluorescent light from under their thing, rips it off, smashes it, looks at it, and looks at her, and just goes right up into the throat. And he twists it. I was waiting for him to see if he could fill it up.
He got creative.
He really did
in this movie. That is the one thing that I will say is there was some creative kills.
So he, instead of leaving her dead at the back door, he props her up on a cabinet, grabs the husband, who was still alive at this point, both of them still alive. He puts, like Briana said, puts him up on a kitchen counter, and just, mind you, all the knives are like right around here, all like on one of those metal things, and he's just grabbing them and just like my sound there. But then he grabs a final knife. I thought he was going to kill Chandra next.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to get the last knife to go through her, but he actually leaves her alive.
Yeah.
They don't address if she lives. I mean, I don't assume she did, but I mean, you never know. You never know. They just
the throat. I don't know.
The
sheriff kind of got stabbed in the throat and he lived. So
exactly. So I'm wondering, they never really addressed that, which whatever.
Then you know how arteries work. We're not trained like that. It's been a while since you and I both took anatomy, so
so then fast forward, we're at the hospital now, and I think it's Haddonfield Memorial, and Laurie is getting wheeled in, ushered in. She's unconscious, which they said she was unconscious, yet she was moving, not unconscious. But that's error number 4.
Well, also, if you're hemorrhaging, your body could do weird things. So
no,
I don't know.
No, I call bullshit.
I don't know.
Her eyes were moving. She was like,
oh yeah.
No, that was just an oversell. So that's continuity error number 4 for me.
Yeah.
So they wheel her in. They're all having these surgeries now. Mind you, she got stabbed roughly here.
Yeah, and they're
But
doing like full
when they did
blown.
surgery, they're doing surgery straight down the middle.
Maybe they had to repair some internal bleeding.
But when you see her, she's not
Yeah.
holding, she starts holding the side again, but her stitches were in the front. She rips open the bleeding from the side again later in the movie, but not the front. So you see what I'm saying? Like that's where the continuity error comes in for me, is because she's stabbed in the side. They're doing surgery straight down the middle of her, which, by the way, can we please discuss how fake that stomach area looked?
Yeah.
They had it up way too much, and there was like no bones involved. So you're just like, that's too big.
It was,
Anyways, there was so many areas that like pissed me off in this movie. But then again, like I said, later on, she's holding her side. When she gets knocked over and trampled, she's holding her side again. When she's taking the medicine, she's holding her side. And it's just like, figure it out. Does she get stabbed in the side or stabbed in the front? Which one is? Karen's there. She's telling Allison, you can't go anywhere. Da, 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 da. They all think he's, dead. And then here comes the police, that they're showing the police show up at the house. The house is pretty much burned to the ground, but they're calling for a manhunt for Michael Myers at this point. The officers are. And then this one sheriff, I can't remember if I even got his name at this point because I was so irritated. He comes in and he's just like, no, we're not doing a manhunt. And he seems like he's trying to keep people in check and not going cuckoo.
Keep the peace. Yeah.
But it's not working. People are like, no, we know who this is. F that.
The mob mentality is kind of kicking in. We also
I was about to say, I just kicked over the whole bar scene.
Yeah. I was gonna say, we meet the adult Tommy Doyle, we meet the adult Lonnie, we meet the adult Lindsay, the nurse.
I think her name was Mary something, Mary Ellen, Mary Ann.
You kind of find out that you can almost kind of fill in the blanks that they kind of get together every Halloween, and
actually the bartender says it.
Yeah.
The bartender says every Halloween that they show up, they do the talent show, they reminisce over the fact that they used to they all used to get they're survivors, and Tommy is literally on stage and calls all them out.
And the bartender even says that they're friends with Laurie Strode, so you can assume that they they're some of the people that she actually keeps in confidant.
Yes, which I mean, and you do see that do see that later on in the movie. But there is this couple in front of them that are clearly, they had a really shitty time at a Halloween party, and they were a little rude to the group until they realized who the group was. And they become friends, and then they're all at the bar after they deal with the hospital stuff. They're all at the bar. It's discussed. Like they're all having like this discussion about everything, and then all of a sudden phones start going off. And what is it
on the news?
Well, the phones go off first. And then they turn and go, it's happening. And as the phones are going off and the bartender's turning the TV on to the news, Lonnie gets a call from his son.
About Cameron.
Who found Sheriff Hawkins. And saved Sheriff Hawkins' life. Which is kind of cool in the odd end, despite what happens to so Lonnie leaves and he tells them all, I have to go get my son. And they all realize, oh no, it's happening again. Well, the couple that was with the group after, apologizing for slightly being dicks, they go, that's our street. That's the neighbor from across the way. Holy crap. So they're like, okay, we're going to pay our bar tab. We're going to head out. Well, as they go into their car. It's important
to mention that when they showed on the news, they showed 2 escaped patients.
Yes.
One being Michael Myers, the other was irrelevant, but still 2 escaped patients nonetheless comes into play.
But you got to keep that in mind. Yeah. So as the couple's leaving the bar, the dude realizes he forgot his stethoscope. So he's running back in to go get it. The wife goes into her car, and as she's starting up the car, she turns around and something moves and she screams. She doesn't actually see anything. She doesn't see anybody. She just sees something moving. So she jumps out of her car. She runs back over. He's in my car. He's in my car. He's in my car. That guy on the news. So the bar turns into a mob mentality and they all go out. Tommy grabbing the bat from behind the bar called Old Huckleberry. I forgot. They said there's a story about it, but I couldn't pay attention. So he goes out to the car and he's like, come on, it's going to end tonight. It's going to end tonight. Tommy Doyle is basically a freaking instigator. Let's just say it how it is. He is an instigator for
He's
me.
the
This
Negan of the
power,
group, basically. Walking Dead reference.
oh yeah, 100%
Yeah.
Negan. So he's going into this like, I'm gonna kill this dude. I'm gonna go out swinging. Da 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 da. Well, as he's getting closer to the car, you hear music, but the music changes. Next thing you know, the car's peeling wheels at him, takes off, goes through a corner, and smashes through into like a building. When the mob runs over, Tommy rips open the car and there's no one in there. There's some blood, but no one in there. Then it pans off and you're seeing like from the side view, like somebody like this behind a building like this. And you hear Tommy and all them talking. And then when they pan around, you think it's Mike. It is the other escaped patient. Now, this man, let me tell you, I feel so sorry for him. And I will explain this a little bit more later. But so after this happens, the sheriffs show up at the hospital and pretty much tell Karen, nope, he's, what's the events? She's telling him, oh yeah, we got him for good. Yeah, I killed him. And he goes, no one's told you? He's still alive. And she's like, no.
Yeah.
Well, then he's coming here. He's coming here. And, the daughter, her Karen's daughter, Allison, she's there. And she was told, like, they were told separately. Yeah. She's freaking out just as much, but she's on this, like, I'm not going to sit here and take this crap. I'm going to, I'm going to take matters into my own hands.
Well, and this is where it kind of comes into play of like he hunted her down, he stalked her for 40 years. And that's where the daughter kind of is like, no, he didn't. The doctor brought him.
So this is where my theory comes in. I feel like, truth be told, I don't think that Loomis or his protege, well, okay, as Loomis, maybe, because I think Loomis wanted to kill him. Mm-hmm. If you remember, like in the end of
they do show a flash where they were gonna,
and Loomis is holding a gun, and it is Hawkins that was like, no. And Hawkins explains later why he did what he did. And they're in the hospital. She's trying to explain, oh no, he's gonna come here, he's gonna come after her, he's gonna come after my mom. And then you've got all these patients being rolled in all of a sudden, and it's a lot. It's the victims that Mike's already X'd out. So I don't know. My brain is starting to like jumble a little bit because there's just so much going on at the time. You have Cameron showing up at the hospital, and he's like, Tommy's getting a group together. We're gonna go after him. Evil dies tonight. He's like, let's go. My dad's got stuff. We're going. And Allison's like, yeah, I'm gonna go. And her mom's like, no, you're not. You're gonna get in the room with your grandmother. You're gonna get in the room with your grandmother. He's gonna come here. Da, da, da. You see her angrily go into with her grandmother, realize she still has the knife that she stabbed Mike with, and she laid it next to her grandmother. So she then kisses her grandmother goodbye, bolts it out of the hospital, and goes and follows Cameron, who is seen at his dad's car, Lonnie, at his dad's car while they're showing off guns to Tommy Doyle. And then it's basically a little montage of Tommy going through town trying to get people to basically fight his battle with him. Like, oh, evil dies tonight. Evil dies tonight. I mean, it's
all I can think of is the song that Gaston sings in friggin' Beauty and the Beast. Like
honestly,
kill the beast.
Honestly, that's where my brain went. I was like, wow, mob mentality.
Like you
Tommy's
can almost
kind of
hear
Gaston.
Like the beat in the background.
So basically they go on this huge hunt. Everyone breaks up. Lindsay, the couple from the bar, actually the ones who got carjacked, the woman is dressed as a nurse, her husband is dressed up as a doctor. When they introduce themselves at the bar saying, this is our home, that was our street, she goes, I'm the doctor, he's a nurse, and like role reverse. It's kind of cool. And then we get into the split up of where everyone's going. Tommy's driving by himself to go gather more manpower, to try and tell people like, look, we need strong people. If you're not strong, get the hell home. Lock your door, stay inside. And then you have Lonnie is with his son and Allison. And then you have Lindsay, Marianne, and the other couple, which I don't think they ever really give us a name of these guys, which is horrible.
I don't think they do.
But somewhere in between this whole jumbled mess, we see these couple. Was it Little John and Big John?
Yeah.
They
have renovated and
they now live in the Myers home. And yes, they use that to their advantage. So they get a knock on the door, banging, and this little girl saying, "We got a piece of candy from your house. My sister started eating it and it had a razor blade in it, and she cut herself." So Little John, who is not little, goes running out of the house, yelling for Big John, like, "Oh my God, I see the razor blade in the vomit." Da, 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 da. Come to find out, they were just pranking them. And, another dude runs into their house, slams the door, steals candy. And that's when the two Johns tell these kids the story about whose house that was and Mike Myers, and how, that Mike doesn't handle people living in his home uninvited. Well, then who the hell invited you into his home? But it just comes down to the fact is, like, you're literally saying that unless you were invited in by the Myers themselves, you're dead. You pretty much just foreshadowed your own death. So I mean, they use it to scare the kids off, blah blah blah. Well, you then see those kids later on, because Lindsay and them are riding through trying to tell people, either if you're strong, come with us, if not, go home,
like get off the streets.
Well, they drive past this park, and there is two girls from earlier, just swinging. And when she comes up, she's like, "Have you guys seen a man in a mask?" And again, they use the whole signature, "It's Halloween, duh." And she was like, "Where's your parents?" And they were like, "We're waiting on our friend, but this guy keeps, it's in a white mask, he keeps following us, but trying to play hide and seek." And the one girl goes, "There he is." And behind her car, where Marianne and the other couple is still sitting in the car, is Mike Myers.
Mm-hmm.
She's
holding their friend's mask.
Yeah, and holding it up. And they're like, "Oh my God, is that his mask?" She's like, "Run, get out of here." It's craziness. Mike, you then see her Lindsay run and grab like the girl's pillowcase with the candy, dump the candy out, and she just starts like stuffing the pillowcase, random bricks, in a playground. Michael is Spider Monkey at this point because he jumps on top of the car.
Yeah.
And the girls, the woman has a gun, Ellen or Marianne, or we'll just say Mary for sake of purposes.
The couple has like
the wife of the couple. She took the gun from her husband.
I know how to use this.
She's like,
she's a terrible shot. We'll get to that.
So Mary is like, it's Mike, and she's shooting, and this bitch shoots out all the windows in the car. And then she's leaning back, and again, Mike's on top. He's throwing the bloody mask on the front. And she leans back, and Mike grabs her hair and rips her back out, just like he did years ago when he was trying to kill her the first time. So that was kind of like eerie similarity there. I don't think she didn't die from having her head smashed. Michael made his way into the car.
Yeah.
And if I'm correct, he stabbed her.
Yeah.
Like right through the front. The gentleman in the back seat is trying to strangle Mike with a stethoscope. Fails utterly miserable, and he gets a knife through the chin and right through the eyeball.
Slow looks at him like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, like, what is this going to do to me? So he gets a knife straight through the throat, up through the eyeball. Well, his wife managed to get out of the car. And she starts acting like some gangster trying to pop through, missing every single shot. She's like at the door, getting ready to it. Mike kicks the door. She spins the gun up and blows her own brains out. Lindsay, on the other hand, comes up with that pillowcase full of bricks and just cracks Mike. And we mean cracks him, I want to say at least like 2 or 3 times. And then he gets a hold of her. And I forget how she gets away, but she gets away from him. Oh, the mask. Yeah. She started to pull the mask off, and he let go. So she runs. She hides off the embankment. Mike's following her, clearly. She did well from hiding. And then, he's looking for her. He doesn't see her. So he starts walking over the bridge, and then it cuts away. I'm trying to remember which scene it cuts away to.
I think it cuts away to Tommy at the hospital. because I think he goes to the hospital at this point to still try to recruit people who might be like at the hospital with loved ones who might have been injured. And that's where Laurie has woken up from surgery at this point, because Karen, she had woken up from surgery before, and Karen didn't have the heart to tell her that Michael
She
was
literally
actually alive.
She looks at her daughter and goes, "We did it.
Like,
we
got
killed
him.
him.
Yeah.
We got him." And she's like, "Yeah, Mom, we got him."
So Tommy basically goes to the hospital at this point, and Tommy's the one to be like, hey. And at this point, also, the sheriff has been wheeled into the room.
That's actually how she found out, was because the sheriff was wheeled in. He's in from surgery from Hemsworth, and that's when Tommy busts in.
And
pieces got put together there.
Tommy basically says, vows to protect her as she did to him 40 years ago, and that they're gonna get him. And at that point, Laurie's like, well, no, I'm not just gonna lay here. So she gets up, injects herself in the rear end with something that makes the pain go away.
And that's exactly what she calls it.
She's magically able to put clothes on after getting full-blown stomach surgery.
And then, so basically the hospital's a hotbed. Like, the mom's going crazy. The hospital's in lockdown. Tommy is now stuck in lockdown. And you then see, as she's coming out of, like, into the main area, you see a reflection of a guy with a cut on his head, and you see him mouthing the word, "Help me." Mm-hmm. And this is where, like, I started crying, because does that happen before they find Lindsay? Yes, no, because that's how Tommy got there. Mm-hmm. So Tommy's actually, we're gonna rewind it back. So they're out roaming the streets. Tommy finds Lindsay's car with nobody in it but blood. Lonnie and Cameron and Allison show up as well, and they're looking for everybody. They go into the park. They see the couple, the doctor and nurse with masks on, laid out on a merry-go-round, covered around with candy and blood. And then they find Mary hung up by the swing set. They still didn't find Lindsay. So they run. Allison's like looking around. They're calling for Lindsay, calling attention to themselves. And basically they see Lindsay crawling up the bank. And she says something, I forget what she says. It's him or something like that. He's got them all. But she's badly beaten. Like, not even stabbed, just beaten, like bloody, bruised, a whole mess. Tommy then actually takes her, and this is actually how Tommy gets to the hospital. We totally just bloop that whole spot. But Tommy actually was the one that took Lindsay to the hospital, and that's how he got locked in the hospital. And then came the guy going, help me. But everyone automatically assumed that this mental patient is Mike. So mob mentality kicks in, and Tommy's like, that's him. Evil dies tonight. He gets all these people, and they're running. And it finally, like, Laurie sees and goes, that's not him. That's
Her
not Mike.
Line is the greatest thing ever. You effing sheep, it's not him.
I know, that was perfect.
That was the greatest thing.
So during this whole trampling mess, Laurie gets knocked over. Again, one of my continuity errors that I got pissed off about earlier. And, her side stitches bust up. And there's this cop who's trying to help get Laurie back to her room where the sheriff is. And then, Frank's awake. The two of them start talking, and it's just like, okay, so you have a whole hospital full of people that are trying to murder this person that isn't Mike, but you guys are going to have a sentimental heart-to-heart. Okay, cool. So Karen realizes it's not him, and she's running up the stairs yelling, it's not him. The sheriff had said, not the sheriff, but the other cop had said something to her about one of the wings in the hospital, like one of the floors being empty. So she gets to get around the mob, and she sees this guy. And what happens next is the most saddest thing on the planet. I felt so bad. So she manages to get into the hallway where the guy's at, and she's whispering to him saying, like, I'm so sorry. I know it's not you. I'm not going to let them hurt you. So she takes him into a portion of the hallway once she kind of gains his trust.
She locks off one portion of double doors, and then she tells him, I promise I won't let them hurt you. And she tells him to lock the doors behind her. And it basically just puts him in the middle of a hallway with like a couple doors, maybe a couple rooms, and a window. Well, there's people coming up on the other side. There's people coming up where she's at. And she makes eye contact with Tommy and goes, it's not him. And Tommy even says, it's not him. Like, just in shock, like, oh my God, I have people chasing after somebody that I said was him. It looks like some guilt hit Tommy pretty hard. But at this point, there was no turning back. Like, you were
what have I done? We've got this few hundred people that.
Yeah. So the windows start busting through on the doors. And this guy, he's a mental patient. He's terrified. He doesn't know why they're trying to kill him. He grabs a fire extinguisher, and as you see the hits coming in on the doors, he's hitting the windows for the outside. He finally shatters the glass as they are breaking through the doors, and he gets his freedom by climbing out the window and jumps. Let me tell you, I cried because this poor man had no other option but to jump because people wanted to kill him because they thought he was Mike Myers. And then the messed up part is Officer Hackett, aka Annie's father, is now working for the hospital. He goes outside and he says, Tommy, it's not him. And Tommy's response to all of this was,
he's always worn a mask. How do you know?
And it was Karen that says, that's why
an innocent man died because
she goes, she was like, he's turned us into the monsters. That's what it was. So Karen goes back into the room with her mother, and she hears her mother and Frank talking about how the night she was attacked, she's blaming herself, saying he wants me. And Officer Hawkins is like, no, it's my fault. He's like, I should have let him kill him, but instead I wanted to believe that there was some good in that man. He goes, now I know it's just pure evil. There's nothing else. It's nothing but evil. He goes, but it's my fault. I stopped them from killing him that night.
He said that the Loomis was about to shoot him, but he just looked at it and he said all he could still see was someone's child on the inside. But he's like, now I know that he's just pure evil.
Yeah. And then they start talking about, maybe he wasn't looking out of his sister's room to look out at the world, but looking at his own reflection coming back at him. This sets off an idea in Karen's brain. She immediately now knows where he's going. And she walks out of the hospital. She's telling Tommy off in the process. And Tommy's like, look, I want to help. If I go down, I'm going down swinging. And she's like, I need a car. So you see Lonnie, Allison, and Cameron, they all are already at the house. Little John and Big John have been offed by this point. Mike's gotten into his home. And literally the last thing Little John says to Mike is, you're home. Because their bedroom is his sister's over. Yeah, his favorite window. That only window. So Lonnie tells his kid and Allison, stay in the car. This isn't me telling you. This is me asking you to, please do that. Allison's like, do you expect? And he was like, look, please. So he goes in. They run in because they hear a gunshot. They run in looking for Lonnie. They go through the bottom. They have the normal, let me check everything out. And they didn't see him, but they heard footsteps upstairs. Upstairs they go. And you hear music as they're going upstairs. And Big John had a record player that he was playing spooky stuff on earlier in the night.
It's Halloween.
Yeah. So when Allison enters the room that she hears the music coming from, Big John and Little John are like posed. Big John is like up against a cabinet. Little John is posed across him, like with his hands over his chest, like a funeral casket. And the music's playing, she's freaking out. She's like, oh my God, are they still alive? But she pulls the knife out of Big John and drops the shotgun. Okay. So Cameron's checking the bedroom. He doesn't see anything. He comes back out. And as he's walking down the hallway towards the closet, these bifold doors at the end of the hallway, which are kind of open, blood's dripping on him. He looks up. It's his father hanging out the attic, bleeding on him. And next thing you know, Mike Myers just busts open, runs out, and just starts
stabbing him right in the stomach.
I said to Bill earlier when I had it on in the background, I was like, rule number 1 of a Halloween movie, he is always in the closet. Like,
pretty much.
But
rule number what's 1. Funny is it took Allison a few minutes to be like, she's like, Cameron, what? Like, are you okay? And then she's like, oh shit, maybe I should get up and go check on my boyfriend. Yeah. So she runs out and she aims the shotgun, but Mike knocks it out. But she's got the knife in her hand and stabs again. What does a knife do to Mike Myers? Not a goddamn thing. I digress. So he continues to kill the boyfriend, knocks her down the stairs. I think he knocks her down the stairs or she runs down the stairs. I can't flipping remember, but she hurts herself. Like,
what did she do? Something to her ankle? Did she jam her
ankle?
I think
she broke
just twist it.
I think it broke.
She was screaming. I was like, oh, she done broke something.
Yeah, I think if you go back over it, I think she's got bone coming out of her leg at that point. But so she's literally calling Mike out at the bottom of the stairs after she's screaming. She's like, Michael, come get me, MFer. I'm not trying to get demonetized or any of that stuff. Have YouTube throw the band hammer down on us. It's only episode 2. We can't have that. So we see her acting, big bad. Mike's like, F you. And his version of saying F you is, I'm gonna stab your boyfriend some more. Then I'm gonna put him through the banister. And I'm just gonna do. And basically what ends up happening after that is, kills the boyfriend, then goes down the stairs. And as he's walking down the stairs, he just snaps the boyfriend's neck and goes after Allison. I think Allison got like maybe one good swing on him again. And then she was like, just do it. Kill me. Do it. And I see him, he gets a pitchfork through the back from who else? Karen. And pretty much Karen gets his mask off of him and runs. And Allison's just sitting there yelling, Mommy, kind of crappily. Yeah. And as Karen's running, she runs in and she drops the mask intentionally.
Well, so the thing is, like, she's coaxing him out of the house. And like, she says this line that I'm like, why is that relevant? When she's like, I'm an innocent woman.
So I think the reason why she said this is because it's in reference to his sister, that she was an innocent woman, not really knowing that the sister really wasn't that innocent.
True. But it's like, what does that have to do with anything? Clearly he doesn't care. Like, that was why I was like, what does he care if you were or you weren't? Like,
so basically when he walks up on the mask, lights come on. And it is everyone from the town, Tommy, Officer Hackett, a whole bunch of other people, and they all just start attacking Mike. They let him put his mask on, and then they start attacking him. He gets a couple good hits on a couple people. They're shooting him, but then they finally get him down.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping that at this point we would have seen his face, but considering the fact that we know for a fact there's another one coming, I think that's when we're finally going to get like a full frontal face when he's finally, we can only hope.
And then, so after everybody starts beating him, Karen grabs a knife and puts it right through Michael's spinal cord and leaves it. And Tommy says, go to your daughter. We got him. And as they all continuously beat on him, she goes over to get her daughter. Cops are called. Ambulance are there. They take care of her. They take care of Allison. But montage. Mike rips the knife out of his spinal cord and jabs it right into Officer Hackett. And then just ensues this montage of murder. And you're just like, well, shit, that just happened. And the last person he kills is Tommy.
Well, and the overdub is where you kind of like get a connection, if you will, not a direct connection, because a lot of like the weird spin-offs and sequels and whatnot have addressed more of like, have put it more on the supernatural end. You basically hear Laurie's overdub as like, I once thought he was flesh and blood, but with every kill he just gets more and more evil and more transcendent. And I'm like, wait, what does that even mean? But okay.
So basically after it all ends, we see Karen look up in the window. She walks up into Mike's sister's room and stares out the window. And as she starts to kind of see something back to back, back pops Mike. Bye bye goes Karen. Laurie and Frank do say if they don't get him tonight, it proves that it's not he's not a man. He's the essence of fear, the essence of evil, and it's the fear of the town that gives it to gives him his strength, his power. Yeah. But that's kind of how the movie ends.
I like, again, back to cinematic study person, I like the final shot between Michael staring at his reflection in the window and them panning into Laurie's face, because it's almost kind of like synchronicity, but not really.
Yeah.
But again, because we knew for a fact that it was, I guess I kind of knew, but knowing the fact that there is straight up one called Halloween Ends coming in 2022, it kind of makes sense to a degree the way that they ended it. I mean, I think we both assumed that it was going to be the last one, and then when we
that's
find
how
out
they made it seem.
Yeah.
And now that there's another one, you're just like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, so all in all,
I still rated about a 6 out of 10.
I mean, I kind of go more on like the 7, but I didn't love it. I didn't hate it.
So
but
now that I've been explained about 2018, which literally as soon as we're done this, I'm going to go watch that. But now that you've explained a little bit more, I'll bump my rating up to about a 7. But we'll see how Halloween Ends is. And honestly, guys, I think that is all the time we have for you tonight. We've been at this for a while now. So we're gonna break off. We appreciate you guys listening. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast listening from. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.